Mr. Lightstone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My questions today are for the Minister responsible for the Nunavut Housing Corporation, and they're regarding the Government of Nunavut Staff Condominium Program. As the Minister is aware, the GN Staff Condo Program was launched over half a decade ago. This initiative was initially intended to provide more affordable home ownership options for long-term employees and gave priority consideration to Inuit employees. However, the Nunavut Housing Corporation's most recently tabled annual report indicates that only a quarter of the units have been sold by the end of the 2020-2021 fiscal year. In November of 2021, the Nunavut Housing Corporation issued a public announcement indicating that the application period for the program would be closing at the end of the month. Mr. Speaker, that was almost a year ago. I'd like to ask, can the Minister tell us today how many of the condo units have been sold in the first and the second application processes, and how many units remain unsold? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Minister responsible for the Nunavut Housing Corporation, Mr. Kuchuk.
Thank my colleague for his question. It's fitting I wear this tie. It was your first campaign manager's tie. Mr. Speaker, yes, we've been having issues with the uptake of the condo units. As everybody is aware, there's 60 units in two parts of the city. There's 24 condo units in the plateau and 36 on the road to nowhere. Mr. Speaker, up to now, we have a total of 13 units sold in the Plateau Condo Court, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For supplementary, Mr. Lightstone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Throughout the year, and exceedingly over the last 6 months, I've had many constituents approach me with frustrations over the program, both condo owners as well as applicants. Mr. Speaker, in an attempt to curb inflation, the Bank of Canada has increased the benchmark interest rate today to 3.75%. And this is the sixth increase since March. Mr. Speaker, it doesn't seem significant, but the impact on mortgages has seen the cost of borrowing triple since February. Mr. Speaker, applicants have had to apply and reapply for 90-day mortgage pre-approval with frustration as the rates steadily increased. Mr. Speaker, another issue that has been brought to my attention concerns tax implications of the condo buyers. It's my understanding that the Nunavut Housing Corporation has been advised that the Canada Revenue Agency has determined that the Staff Condo Program is considered a taxable employee benefit, which means that employees pay tax on certain amounts that are calculated in the transaction. Mr. Speaker, these factors are resulting in a number of disincentives to participate in the program. I'd like to ask, can the Minister describe what options the Nunavut Housing Corporation is considering to address these issues? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister responsible for the Nunavut Housing Corporation, Mr. Kuchuk.
Mr. Speaker, I thank my colleague for the question and for my colleague to be underlining some of the frustrating issues I believe both sides are having in terms of the Housing Corporation and the possible homeowners. Mr. Speaker, we've had to deal, like other departments and other workforces across this country, with staff turnover. COVID is still very real in that term. We've also had issues where successful proponents were having problems getting approval once they got to the banking stage. And the other side of that is people who applied for to get into the homeowner condo program found out that their line of credit or their ability to own a house and get a mortgage was better than what they saw with the condo unit and went on to look for bigger and non-condo housing. Mr. Speaker, those are some of the issues that we've been having on that, and we continue to work to house as many get those units as sold as many as we can. We're continuing to look for ways to get around that. In terms of the tax implications, my colleague is correct. Because this was underlined as a government employee program directed initially to try to help Inuit government employees and long-term government employees to get into their own units that are affordable. And because of that, there was research done into the matter, and it implies that it's a benefit to government employees, and therefore it becomes taxable. We are working through that issue as we speak, Mr. Speaker. One of the things that we are looking at is to see if we take it out of a government employee-only program and open it up to outside government employees, if the tax implications will be removed, Mr. Speaker. We're working through that as we speak. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, even with the payment of taxes on these units, they are still quite a bit cheaper than if you went after the non-government housing condo unit purchase, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Second and final supplementary, Mr. Lightstone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank the Minister for that response. Mr. Speaker, the government's formal guidelines for the GN Staff Condo Program indicate that the Nunavut Housing Corporation will, and I quote, provide the necessary declaration and bylaws required to establish the condominium corporation pursuant to the Condominium Act and undertake the necessary management of the condominium corporation until sale of 60% of the units in the condo project has been realized and the first board of directors has been established. Mr. Speaker, concerns have been brought to my attention that no board has been established and that all decisions such as condo fees and contingency fund rates are being made by NHC officials. I'd like to ask, can the Minister provide an update on how the Nunavut Housing Corporation is addressing this situation? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister responsible for the Nunavut Housing Corporation, Mr. Kushiwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think the answer lies within the question my colleague asked. As soon as there's 60% of the condo units are sold, they will be able to establish their own board. And until such time that 60% of those units are purchased, then the management of those boards is currently being done by the senior staff of Nunavut Housing Corporation, Mr. Speaker, and we are working to try to get to 60% as soon as we can and ensure that there is a condo board at the earliest convenience, Mr. Speaker, and that's where we are on that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
More questions?